And I think it also gets to the heart of the issue of the lying and the misinformation here, because, again, this story was reported not on Fox News, not even really in the mainstream media yet. It was reported on Think Progress, in the liberal media, on thinkprogress.org. Those are the folks looking for those stories. Those are the folks talking to victims of gun violence. And those are the people that are explaining exactly what a gun background check would entail. Apparently, the reason that there was so much political pressure brought to bear on some of these senators to vote against background checks or to prevent it from coming to a vote was because some of these sort of hardcore gun activists, the small 10% of the country that is against these background checks, was under the impression that this would somehow create a national gun registry. But as this article shows, in fact, the normal background check only takes 5 minutes. What these women were subject to was, in fact, even much longer than that. And that, to me, just really exemplifies the whole issue at stake here, and the media's negligence in explaining this to the public, and the negligence of lawmakers and other cynical special interest groups in being honest about what was really at stake in this legislation.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is this legislation specifically said there cannot be a gun registry, and yet the NRA and a few people on the right were able to sort of push this forward. The other thing is, you talk about negligence of the media. I would take it a step further, and then we're going to talk about this later in the show, but there was Brett Baer, the host of Special Report on Fox News, the supposed straight news anchor in the evening, who've just flat out lied about the polling on gun control and on background checks, and flat out lied and suggested that most gun owners don't support background checks, when the opposite is true. Most gun owners do support background checks. Well, we're going to talk about all of this with our man Cliff Schechter, who's worked for Mayors Against Gun Violence. Cliff is going to join us to talk about the vote and also to talk about the media. Big show coming up for you, everybody. We're also going to start off by continuing our conversation with supporters of Mumia Abu-Jamal. We had the interview with him from prison last week. We're going to have one of his supporters who's going to come on, a professor who has written a lot and studied a lot about his case. She wants some time, and we're going to give her time, as we said to folks last week. And we'll also talk about what happened in Boston with the bombings there, the latest in the investigation. And also we've got a pretty interesting report about the last time there was actually an inspection at that fertilizer plant in West Texas, where there was an explosion this week, killing at least 15 people. So a big show coming up for you. We'll take you through some of the sound and talk about what you can do to still try to influence actions. We're going to pause in just 10 seconds and let our syndicated stations join us. Thanks to everybody who's listening to us and watching us on YouTube as well as terrestrial radio. You're listening and you're watching to Take Action News on We Act Radio.